Well, good evening, Tallahassee, and welcome to Wednesday night's edition of FSU Weather. We're going to start you off with a live look at Doe Campbell Stadium. Pretty clear skies, just some cirrus clouds up there, blocking very little of the sun. 90 degrees here. It's another warm day. Winds a little bit to help you out there. Temperatures around the rest of the area. 90 is our hotspot here in Tallahassee, but 80s for the most part. Tonight's going to cool down and give you a little bit of relief. 70s across a lot of the area. Room temperature about what you should be expecting there for tonight. And your headlines, we're going to be talking about the tropics. It's not quite as busy as it has been, but we still have a little bit to bring you updates with, as well as those hot and dry conditions that seem to be never ending here. And Wild Weather Wednesday, as always, we're going to be talking a little bit about dust devils later on. Stay tuned. All of this and more for FSU Weather. Well, welcome to Wednesday night's edition of FSU Weather. Tonight, we're going to be talking a lot more about these hot and dry conditions that we saw for the longest time until we got a little bit of rain, but now we're back to hot and dry. How are you dealing with all the weather lately? No taste of fall, no pumpkin spice lattes?
No pumpkin spice lattes. Yeah, it's very unfortunate. You know, I've just reached the point where I'm just going to start wearing fall outfits. I don't care. It's October now. It's time. We just got to do it.
Yeah, and I know you're leading the subcommittee for the Women in STEM AMS thing. You've been wanting to plan all these fall events, go to like pumpkin patches and stuff, but we haven't really gotten the chance to go out and do that now, have we?
No, and I'm planning this event for maybe 2 weeks from now, and if it's still 90 then, you know what, we're doing it anyway.
Yeah,
it's time.
I mean, the pumpkins might not be growing in this weather, but we'll just have to go there and see at this point. It's just, we want to get those temperatures, those fall-like, I mean, what is your definition of fall-like temperatures?
My definition of fall-like temperatures is maybe lower 60s to 50s.
Yeah, I'd say lower 60s, upper 50s if I am feeling like my cross-country mood, Midwest kind of fall. I'm sure down here it's a little different for some of you guys. It's probably upper 60s for you guys down here, but we're both Midwesterners.
We're both Midwesterners. You know.
But, I mean, the hot and dry conditions are for the Panhandle, but in terms of the rest of Florida, I mean, we've got stuff going on in the tropics, not really affecting Florida, but still a little more moisture down there. And you're going to be telling us about the tropics, aren't you?
Right, yeah. We don't really see anything affecting us due to that drier air moving in, and Imelda is now sitting at a Category 2 hurricane, but luckily those outer bands have moved out of the area, but it is a Category 2 hurricane with winds at 100 miles per hour, and it will seem to fizzle out throughout this week, and Bermuda is the only place that's going to be affected, but the East Coast, you're in the clear for now. But as we look across Tallahassee, it does seem like that cloud cover has moved out of the area from Imelda. So that leaves us with hotter and drier temperatures. We're sitting at 90 here in Tallahassee, 88 in Quincy, a little cooler by the coast, 82 in Apalachicola. And we are dry, as I mentioned, out. But tonight we will luckily cool down, and we see a little less cloud cover, 70 in Quincy, 70 here in Tallahassee. But tomorrow, unfortunately, we will heat back up. No pumpkin spice temperatures yet, unfortunately. I know we're all waiting for it. 85 here in Tallahassee, 84 in Monticello. But luckily, we do have those clouds that will bring us some relief and a few pop-up showers throughout this week, maybe heading into Friday, Saturday. And speaking of Saturday, our Seminoles will be taking on Miami this weekend. 82 across the board, so really nice football temperatures. Maybe bring some water if you need it. And we do know it is a night game, so we won't have the sun heating up the stadium, because I know sitting on those metal bleachers, it is tough but we got to stick it out for our Seminoles, show our support. And for our forecast, 80s will continue. 80s really do seem to be the trend for this week. And as I mentioned, we do have that rain bringing us a lot of relief. And I'm very happy to see that our lows are staying a little lower, 68, 66 for Thursday and Friday. So that will, we are kind of dipping a little bit more into fall. So maybe in the morning or the night, you will start to experience those fall-like temperatures, but not so much for the highs. And now we're going to take it to Ainsley with a broader look at Florida. So what's going on in the Sunshine State?
We've got some partly cloudy skies in most areas, a little bit overcast down there in Miami. 80s for the most part. Panama City just barely scraping 90 there. We're going to be cooling down though at this point in the night. Radar across Florida, there is not too much going on as we zoom in here though. We'll see a couple of pop-ups there in southwest Florida. Those will be making their way out of the area soon. And as we take a look a little further north, it's pretty much the same story. Just a couple of pop-ups, nothing that's going to stick. In terms of the temperatures, we are seeing mostly 80s here, 87 in Tallahassee. It'll be cooling off a little bit into the night here. Taking a look at our future, what this could look like. Looks like most of our rain action is going to happen in the Floridian Peninsula on Thursday, Friday, and rolling into Saturday. Mostly just clouds for us up here in the Panhandle, though. Not much to worry about in terms of rain. Thank goodness for the Miami game rolling into the weekend. 70s for the most part tonight in Florida. It looks like a little bit warmer down there in Key West at 81 degrees. Tomorrow, we're going to heat right back up into the 80s. Thankfully, not the 90s. For once here, we've had a long stretch of 90s, but 80s here in the Panhandle, in Tallahassee, and 80s all across the board as well. And then, well, I've gotten to the end of my segment here. We're going to take it on over to Mila. She's going to tell us a little bit more about the Southeast. Tell us what is going on.
Yeah, so pretty much the same trend across the rest of the Southeast. We are looking a little drier with highs sticking in the 80s, except for New Orleans. You're the outlier. But I do love to see these beautiful puffy cumulus skies over Nashville. I always love pointing out the clouds because, you know, meteorology student, we love the clouds. But we do just see a few pop-up showers. You know, those are going to be your typical afternoon showers through the Panhandle of the Peninsula of Florida. And that will continue throughout the rest of the week. You know, these showers are just going to be staying down closer to Miami, and then they're going to start to move their way into the Panhandle, and that is where we do see our rain chances start to pick up, as I mentioned. But for now, we are sitting at a nice 88, you know, not very fall-like, and that is reflected across the rest of the Southeast, with our hotspot being Shreveport at 90 degrees. But at least our lows will be lower, and that is reflected with 50s here in Birmingham, so that's something to look forward to. And New Orleans, you are going to be sticking in the 80s as well, with that rain chance starting to pick up on Sunday and Saturday. And for tonight, we will be cooling off to 70 degrees with some clear skies in the area because Imelda has currently moved out. And it's going to be definitely a little cooler across the board, with 66 at Montgomery, 69 in Jackson, and a little warmer, 77 in New Orleans. And at least you do have a nice night for stargazing there. You got to take your wins where you can get them. Tomorrow you will be heating up right back up into the 80s though. 78 at Atlanta, 74 in Charlotte, so a little cooler. And even in the 90s in Shreveport. That always seems to be our hot spot. And now we're going to take it to Ainsley with a look at the rest of the United States.
Yeah, thank you, Mila. So we're going to be taking a look at the nation right now. You can kind of see this in the temperatures. There's a big area of high pressure sitting right here. You're going to see that reflected throughout a lot of the map where we have high pressure. It is very dry. That's why we say high and dry here. But cooler temperatures, places out west, a couple of places like Boston getting a little bit of a taste of fall that we're all jealous of right now. Taking a look at the U.S. as a whole, there's not a lot of yellow, only green, if any. That's right there in central Nebraska, a couple of bits of green down in Florida, but not too much precipitation to worry about for the time being. In terms of your future, there's also not much to point out on the map. Again, high and dry. The only thing you might be able to catch is Imelda out there in the ocean, but nothing that's really involved in our hair for the moment. Maybe a little bit out west near the Nevada area, but that is about it. 72-hour rainfall, this is what it could look like for the next couple of days. Again, most of that rain staying centralized out west there, but for the central U.S., really just a hair, if any. SPC Outlook's going to kind of reflect that map. You can see the rain there. This is for tomorrow. It's going to stretch throughout most of St. Louis down to Houston there, and then I think even just a little bit down in Florida as well, but all non-severe, nothing you really have to worry about. Back in my hometown, Nebraska, we're staying pretty warm for the time being. I didn't realize they were quite so warm. 90s, geez, sorry mom. 80s for the most part the other days, but at least, again, your lows are staying low for the nighttime, and you've got a decent amount of sunshine. Boston, you're finally getting those fall temperatures. I know I just pointed you out. 60s rolling into the 70s. It looks like they'll hit 80 by Sunday, but they've got a little bit of time before that high pressure system kind of migrates into their area. 40s and 50s for the lows. That is quite low pretty much for the rest of the U.S. We got this drought monitor map. Still, drought has crept a little bit here in Tallahassee. You can't see it's covered up by the words, but severe drought has crept into Leon County. Again, out west, we're not doing quite as bad as them. Arizona completely encapsulated in some state of drought. North Dakota looks like it's the only state that doesn't get affected as of right now. And your temperature outlook is going to kind of reflect that area of high pressure that I was just showing you, this big, broad area that covers most of the United States. The only cooler temperatures are the areas where it's more rain-cooled, although that's not directly correlated here. But warmer temperatures for much of the southeast, that's been the story for quite some time. We just are waiting for that relief to migrate its way over here. But now I'm going to head over to the desk with Mila here, and we're going to talk about Wild Weather Wednesday.
Yes. I love how we got a sneak peek of the Wild Weather Wednesday with it talking about dust storms, because I actually experienced a dust storm for the first time in May. A dust storm made its way through Chicago, and that was really interesting for me. Wow. Have you ever seen a dust storm?
No, just on camera, not in person. I've seen like dust devils and stuff, which I think we'll also be talking about that too. Right now, what is a dust devil? It's a small rotating column of wind seen on hot sunny days. That checks out. It's made visible by the dust, dirt. It's a very localized area of low pressure on the ground that spins up, forms a rising pocket of the warm surface air, and that's what we end up seeing. It's kind of, should be invisible, but the dust makes it visible, you know?
Huh. Yeah.
Yep, and then let's see, let's go on to the next slide if you want to do that.
So how long do dust devils last? They are, as you mentioned, short-lived, typically lasting only a few seconds to minutes. And they can occasionally grow large enough to pose a minor threat to people and property, which actually makes sense, as you mentioned, that they are very localized systems.
Yeah, I did see one over the summer, and so one day over the summer I noticed a couple kind of all at once, and they were very tiny ones, but I noticed them multiple ways on the time to my drive to Omaha. That was when we were in a drought, so that makes sense. They're most commonly found in the Southwest, especially in Arizona, where it's hot, dry conditions. They can also be found in other places around the plains, Texas, New Mexico. I would say the plains are when we're in a state of drought. It's not supposed to be that way, but it can get there, you know. And let's see, what's the last thing?
The 2008 dust devil. In 2008, near Casper, Wyoming, a shed collapsed on a woman seeking shelter, resulting in her death, showing just how powerful a large dust devil can cause lethal structure collapse or other injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that is very rare, but it's always, you know, possible. So you can't really predict those the same way you can predict weather, but if you see one, definitely make sure to take shelter. Obviously, this lady was doing the right thing, but yeah, it's, weather's unpredictable, and that's why we love it. That's why we are here,
That's why we want to tell you guys about it.
But yeah, I mean, okay, moving into more local, what's happening in Tallahassee? What are your predictions for the FSU Miami game? What are your hopes?
Well, obviously, I hope they win, but we'll see. It's going to be a tough one.
I'm going to have my faith in them. Go Noles.
Go
but,
Noles.
like, we gotta pick it up here, Hopefully, it'll be a night game, so you might get a little bit of those cooler temperatures. It'll probably still be upper 70s if I had to guess, rolling into the night. Go lower 70s. But, I did not get a ticket to the game. I have a bone to pick with the FSU Spirit Rewards, but that's a story for another time. But
that's a whole rant for another time.
Yeah, I will just be studying for my dynamics test this weekend. Thank you for not allocating me a ticket. But you got a ticket to the game, so you're excited to go, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Right. I'm just hoping that they can pull out a win. I hope I know they're not going to be too overconfident. So I think, I'm going to say I think they could do it. I think they could beat Miami.
Yeah. And, and always go Noles. That is,
Noles.
Why we are here. But that has been our FSU Weather for Wednesday. Follow us on X at FSU Weather.
Like us on Facebook at FSU Weather.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FSU Weather.
Subscribe to us on YouTube at FSU Weather.
And also make sure to follow us on TikTok at FSU Weather. And here's one last look at your week ahead. Do I spot rain in the forecast?